Happy Halloween, everyone. And you know what gets me in the season more than anything? That's right, Demon Munchkins. Resonators happened to be the first deck I ever hit King of Games with, and then I did it 2 more times after that. And I've always had a soft spot for it. I couldn't tell you why, but I just think they're some of the cutest monster cards going. Lack of pupils, maybe, I don't know. But the point is, despite being a rogue deck, I love these cats and the deck profile was warranted, so let's do it. Crimson Resonator, baby, the poster boy and our main man. Level 2 Dark Fiend tuner with 2 effects, and both are a hard once per turn. If you control no monsters, you can special summon him from the hand. And then, if the only other monster you control is a Dark Dragon Synchro monster, you can special summon up to 2 Resonators from your hand or deck. You can only summon Dark Dragon Synchros from the extra deck the turn that you use either of his effects. It's a very strong card that is also beautifully balanced. Summoning multiple monsters from the deck is insane, especially considering some of his targets, but heavily restricted to his archetype. One of my favorite combo extenders that comes to mind, and man, he's gotta be the cutest of the whole bunch. Easily running at 3 copies, he is a mini box super rare. Red Resonator brings the heat. Man's made of fire and even has a big R on his chest, just in case you forgot. Is red. When he's normal summoned, you can special summon any level 4 or lower monster from your hand. It's good with the deck, but it's just a great effect in general, making Red Resonator a very splashable and applicable card to a lot of different decks. Can be an instant level 3 to 6 synchro, rank 2, or even link 2 now. But he has another effect that when he's special summoned, you can target a face-up monster on the field and gain life points equal to its attack. And of course, he can be summoned directly from the deck with Crimson Resonator, and that will instantly proc this effect, where Resonator players very consistently have over 6,000 life points. And maybe even more if you pull it off multiple times. Running at 2 copies, a very valuable material in the deck. I'm so close with Wandering King Wildwind, I got 3 Prisma copies on deck. And to show my loyalty to this archetype, because even though he isn't a Demon Munchkin, he is an honorary Resonator card for sure. Level 4 Dark Fiend can special summon himself if you control a Fiend type tuner monster with 1500 or less attack, and then he locks you into synchro monsters for the rest of the turn, summoning from the extra deck. Another combo extender that special summons himself right alongside any Resonator, and paired with Crimson Resonator allows you to go full combo without ever using your normal summon. But it gets better. Except the turn that he's sent there, you can banish Wildwind from grave to add 1 Fiend type tuner monster with 1500 or less attack from your deck to your hand, i.e. any and all Resonators. So he extends the archetype and searches it. 3 copies, no questions asked. An absurdly jacked canine that'll one-shot you with 1 blow from that Montana-sized kneecap. Doom Caliber Knight gets to shine in Resonators, which is awesome because he's a cool card but pretty bad with everything else. He can't be special summoned, but while he's on the field, the first monster effect that is activated will make Doom Caliber tribute himself to negate the effect and destroy the monster. This effect is not optional and will work on your own monsters, making this card tricky. And the only way to summon him is through a normal summon, which is just not a good normal summon compared to other things. But if you're Resonators and you don't need your normal summon and you can search Doom Caliber Knight with your skill, it is absolutely cracked. You can just summon it at the end of your turn so you don't accidentally negate your own monster effect, and then you just say to your opponent, hey, have fun, running at 1 copy. The best thing about Yu-Gi-Oh! Is I can do whatever I want, like run Santa Claus and Resonators, and then make an ironic Halloween special about them. My OG fans know that my hype for this card was real when it came to Duel Links. And admittedly, it hasn't lived up to that hype, but it's still an excellent card that can come in clutch. You can special summon him in defense mode to your opponent's field by tributing a monster they control, and if he's summoned that way during the end phase, the card's controller can draw a card, so your opponent. He has 2500 on the defense, but not hard to remove, especially compared to something like Photon Lord. But Santa Claus doesn't activate, doesn't target, doesn't destroy, it gets around literally everything. And back in the day, I used Volcanic Queen in a similar way, but since the rework to the skill doesn't allow you to run it, and just the fact that Santa Claus power crept Volcanic Queen well before Queen was ever even released in a main box. Resonator Call is just what every archetype wants and needs. An easy, simple card neutral search. Just adds a Resonator monster from your deck to your hand. It's like running 6 Crimson Resonators and makes them so consistent on top of the skill. 3 copies for sure. The rest of the deck I filled up with back row hate like Mystical Space Typhoon. Because of its extra deck, Resonators don't really have a hard time removing monsters from the field, but spells and traps, they need help, like a lot. So I run 3 MST and 1 Cosmic Cyclone. Now I'm such a broken record with this, but Treacherous Trap Hole is so good and really gives a buff to rogue decks like Resonators. So that's the main deck, nothing too complicated. The deck's consistency allows it to run such staples at a higher volume. And with that being said, it's a large chunk of the deck that's really up to you based on the staples that you have. Because running cards like Warning Point in place of Tretch or MST is just fine, or whatever else you have. Red Rising Dragon, also known as the physical embodiment of pure red hot frustration. Level 6 Dark Dragon Synchro, and if you've been paying attention, you know that's a great Facebook profile. That man's got more likes on the PFP than I do on the gem guide. When he's synchro summoned, you can target a Resonator in your grave and special summon it. Locks you into Dark Dragon Synchros after the fact, but Crimson Resonator already put that evil on us, so. Then he has this other effect to banish himself from the graveyard, except the turn that he was sent there, to target and special summon 2 level 1 Resonators from your graveyard. That does not come up in this build or ever really, but whatever. The point is, amazing combo extender that can immediately revive the tuner that you used for its summon and put a level 8 synchro on deck, so long as we're following the guidelines. And Dark End Dragon follows the guidelines. Level 8 Dark Dragon Synchro, he can make himself lose 500 attack to send an opponent's monster to the graveyard. Non-destruction removal, that is very nice, and is the reason I said Resonators deal with monsters a lot easier than spells and traps, especially considering how easily they make Dark End Dragon. I'm running it at 2 copies. Infernity Doom Dragon is another option for removal at the level 8 spot. If you have no cards in your hand, you can target and then destroy an opponent's monster, and then inflict damage to them equal to half its attack. Doom Dragon can't attack the turn that you do this. This powerful removal effect, and that effect damage is not small. Using it on Blue Eyes is 1500 damage, so it's very possible to win from Doom Dragon's effect damage. And him not attacking doesn't matter too much when you can just synchro him away, like into Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Bane, as juiced up as the name makes him out to be. 3500 big ones coming straight for your face. Level 10 Dark Dragon Synchro requires a tuner and a non-tuner Dark Dragon Synchro. Easy to make through this deck's main combo and just straight up finishes games when you need it to. And when it inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you can special summon 2 tuners, one from your grave and one from your hand, but they have to have the same level, which Crimson and Red do. Doesn't come up super often, to be honest, and also his effect to tribute a monster to summon Red Dragon Archfiend from the graveyard, but hey, they're there. And speaking of Red Dragon Archfiend, the King's Ace monster himself is here, because he has to be with the skill. Same for the Giga Chad monster Red Nova Dragon himself. Level 10 Synchro that requires 2 tuners, but it's no problem for Resonators. Can't be destroyed by card effects and goes up to 4500 baseline. Is gonna crush your jaw and gains 500 more for any other tuners in your grave. And then it's like you can summon Red Resonator and gain 5000 life points while your opponent disconnects. Did their girlfriend catch them cheating in the middle of the match, or is it just too many life points? It's hard to say. Demon's Resonance is a crazy skill that almost guarantees the deck's combos.
Return 1 Resonator monster from your hand to the deck, add 1 level 4 lower Fiend type monster from your deck to your hand, and add 1 Red Rising Dragon to your extra deck from outside of your deck. During this turn, you cannot use the effects of cards you have added to your hand with the skill or cards with the same name. The skill can only be used once per turn and twice per duel if you begin the duel with a deck that contains the following conditions below. Your deck contains at least 8 Resonator cards and does not contain any monsters other than Dragon type or Fiend type monsters. Your extra deck contains Red Dragon Archfiend and Red Nova Dragon and does not contain any monsters other than Synchro.
So, you could return a useless Red Resonator in your hand for a Wild Wind that you might need, or search a Doom Caliber if you already have Wild Wind. And the fact that it's twice per duel gives Resonators resilience, and on top of extra life points and Wild Wind's recursion, it all meshes so well. So that's the deck, let's play it. Crimson Resonator and Wild Wind start your combo. Special summon Crimson, then you can special summon Wild Wind, and make Red Rising Dragon. Red Rising Dragon will then revive Crimson Resonator, which can then summon 1 or 2 Resonators from the deck. 2, so long as you summon Red Rising to the extra monster zone. Gaining life points off a Red Resonator you summon, set your back row, and I usually call it a day right there. It's near impossible for most decks to lethal through this board. I even had a name for it back in the day, the T-board I called it. But some Resonator players like ending on a level 8 instead, and some just go straight for the indestructible mega unit as a turn 1. Now come turn 3, you got options. You can use the skill again, you can search with Wild Wind from the graveyard and make a serious push with Dark End Dragon and your back row hate. Or sometimes it's better to go into Infernity Doom Dragon if you can dump your hand, and this is basically the same generic formula for going second as well. And even though Dark End is losing attack and Infernity Doom Dragon prevents himself from attacking, the fact that you can use them as synchro materials to go into Bane, who will bypass that, is just another little cherry on top. So that's a pretty general deck profile for Resonators. Definitely one of my favorite archetypes in the game. Once again, I wish all of you a very happy Halloween, and I will see you in my next video.